Welcome to the video on elements and compounds. We're going to just discuss some basic information about elements and compounds and where they are located on the periodic table. So please have a periodic table with you. I'll have a slide with one that we'll refer back to, but it would probably be best to have one of your own as well. All right, an element is a pure substance that cannot be broken down by physical means. It cannot be broken down into any simpler substance by a physical or a chemical reaction. Each element on the periodic table is identified by one or two letter symbol. Some of them are easy to remember, some don't seem to make as much sense to students at first. They are arranged in our periodic table, and the position of an element tells us a lot about its properties, its chemical properties. Here are some common elements and their symbols, so a lot makes sense, but then here maybe lead you might think would be, Le or something, but instead it's Pb. Okay. Here's a periodic table. I want you to take note of the color coding here. So we've got metals, metalloids, and nonmetals that are on our periodic table. Metals are located on the left-hand side of the periodic table, and they account for about 80% of all elements. They are very good conductors of heat and electricity, and they are metals that are typically shiny solids at room temperature, except for mercury. It's the only one which is a liquid. So if you look on the periodic table, if you go back, okay, over here all up to the left in green, those are all considered to be metals. All right, nonmetals are on the right side of the periodic table, and there's a stair step, if you look at your periodic table, that runs down the periodic table, and I'll point this out in a minute, but these nonmetals fall to the right of that, so they're on the very far side, and they have a dull appearance. They are poor conductors of heat and electricity, and they can be solids, liquids, or gases at room temperature. So an example would be sulfur and carbon are solid at room temp, bromine liquid, and oxygen and nitrogen are gases at room temperature. Metalloids are located along the stair step that I mentioned on the solid line that kind of starts up at boron and then angles down. Okay, the metalloids have intermediate properties between metals and nonmetals. Okay, and so they are called semiconductors, and they have some common properties of both metals and nonmetals. Okay, there are only 7 elements that are metalloids. Okay, and so you may want to make note of these. Okay, and also if you look back at your periodic table, you want to see these as well. So here we have green metals, blue nonmetals, and here 3, 4, 5, here's our 7 metalloids. Okay, notice that this is not a metalloid. Aluminum is not a metalloid either. All right, let me skip back to where we were. All right, if we focus on the human body, so some of you are going into nursing or whatever you might be doing, it's also good to know that our human body is 96% of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. So these are all non-metals, and we study these extensively if you take organic chemistry. All right, so carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, they're all found in proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and your proteins and nucleic acids also contain nitrogen. Major minerals are elements that are present in smaller amounts in the body, but we need at least 100 milligrams of these in our daily diet. And then we also have some trace elements that are found in our bodies, but these are we need less than 15 milligrams of these in our daily diet, so we just need a trace amount. Okay, some major minerals are things like magnesium and sulfur, and these are found in proteins. And then some trace elements would be something like iodine is needed for proper thyroid function, but we just need a trace amount. Here kind of gives you some focus on the body. So here's our major building blocks we just mentioned. Here's some trace elements. You find these on the back of vitamin bottles, obviously, because some people need to supplement these vitamins in their diet by these minerals or these elements in their diet by using vitamins. Okay, and here's some, these are trace elements, and then some major minerals like potassium, sodium, magnesium. Okay, these we need about, at least 100 milligrams of each of these in the daily diet. All right, a compound is when we chemically combine two or more elements. So it is a pure substance because we are chemically combining two or more elements. And so a formula looks something like this. So it's each element's symbols to show the identity of that element. And then you have subscripts that indicate the ratio of the atoms in the compound. So something like H2O. Okay, in that compound you have 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Propane is there on the right. C3H8, you have 3 carbons and 8 hydrogen atoms. So compounds are combined in a definite ratio. And later through chemistry introductory course, you'll learn that the way that compounds combine or elements combine to make compounds is not just a coincidence. So this has to do with their bonding pattern and with their electrons. And H2O is a stable compound, and we'll learn why that is. Okay, we can draw compounds in different ways. So we have a ball and sticks model that you'll see in any chemistry book, or you can kind of draw it as these space filling representation that you'll also see. And then different elements, they'll give different colors and typically give you a key, because every book or whatever you see online or wherever may use different colors. Okay, but typically hydrogen's white and carbon is black. Okay, so now I want you to look at your periodic table, and you can pause the video if you would like, and I want you to classify the following elements as a metal, non-metal, or a metalloid. Okay, so if you want to write these down, I'll give you just a second, but you can also pause. Okay, and then we're going to go back and we're going to go, so bear with me real quick. We're going to go back to our periodic table. Oh, there it is. And we're going to look for these and determine if they are metals, non-metals, or metalloids. So the first one, you have the strontium here. So it is in green. It is a metal. It's on the far left. Next, we have this one here. So you can practice finding these, molybdenum. And it is also a metal. Next was iodine. See, it's in blue here, so that means it is a non-metal. Okay, and then fluorine is also in blue, and it is a non-metal as well. And then if we go to boron, it is one of our 7 metalloids. And if you go down to antimony, Sb is antimony, it is also one of our metalloids. Right, so that was just a general idea of our elements, where they are, which ones are metals and non-metals, and just a review on what a compound is. All right, thank you. I'll see you next time.